Welcome to Revolution Against Evolution. I'm your host, Doug Sharp.
Co-host Rich Gear here, and Doug's come up with an interesting topic today. It really relates to topics we've studied before, vestigial organs, but specifically the tonsil, right? The tonsils you want to talk about today.
Yeah, I want to talk about tonsils, and we're taking it from this book by Jerry Bergman, Useless Organs. I also wanted to mention his other book that he has called Poor Design. And these are both, this one says the rise and fall of the central claim of evolution, about the useless organs. And then the poor design is an invalid argument against intelligent design. And so what I wanted to talk about was the tonsils. And it was, there's a claim that Darwin made that of vestigial organs. He says, existence of organs in a rudimentary, imperfect, and useless condition are quite aborted, far from presenting a strange difficulty, as they assuredly do on the old doctrine of creation, might even be anticipated in accordance with evolution.
Interesting, because Darwin, did he come out with this kind of an idea at the same time, concurrent with Haeckel, or was this earlier? It sounds like he would have been earlier.
Well, the Darwin and Alfred Wallace were the two.
They were the evolutionary guys, and now they become equal in modern parlance as the founders of the creation, if you will, of the doctrine of evolution. But Haeckel was the one who did a lot of drawings about showing this kind of stuff. Well, he was more like embryonic recapitulation. So the idea of vestigial organs, which by the way means leftover, they're like useless. Mm-hmm. They're vestiges of an ancient past. And they were playing with that because, again, that's why those two books you mentioned, Doug, are really valuable. A lot of people use the idea that if this was a creator, he sure screwed it up. And we've talked about those things like the giraffe and some other things where people try to tell you how bad certain designs were. And Jerry goes into a lot of that, how it's not.
And so what it is really an accusation against God, that he made a mistake, okay?
He made a mistake. So either is no God or he's a bumbler.
Right, yeah.
That's what you have.
And so that's, the take that we have from the evolutionary standpoint. Now, we need to talk about what tonsils are. And there are actually three different types.
Yes, I didn't realize that.
And there's the ones that are the ones we normally think about, the ones on the two sides of the throat, that they're lymphoid tissues, and they're attached to the wall at the back of the mouth. Then there's the nasopharyngeal tonsils. It's also called the adenoids.
See, I always wondered about that. I didn't know if adenoids were the same as tonsils. So what you're saying is they're of three different types, it's one of the types of tonsil. I never knew that. Never was that ever explained to me.
Yeah, they're the lymphoid tonsils, and there's lingual tonsils located at the dorsum of the tongue, on the back part of the tongue.
But that's the one I kind of remember, the one at the back. That's the one, I mean, look, when you and I, you still have your tonsils, right?
I do, yeah.
So your parents were in the vanguard of realizing how that was a bad idea. My parents were in the 50s, early 50s. All kids got the tonsils out. It was like a rite of passage. Because we as kids kind of like we got out of school for a couple of days, and I was going to eat ice cream for 3 weeks. So I don't know if it was that long, but I thought that would be a great thing, But boy, that really hurt the first day or two after you got the tonsils out. You didn't really want to eat anything, let alone ice cream. It hurt. But then it was not too bad. But then you got in the mood for eating potato chips, man. You try to eat a potato chip. Oh man, that would it would just chew your throat right up. You did not want to mess with salt in the back of that thing. But again, this was I did not realize growing up. I just thought that was a part of medical things. Well, they're going to come out anyway.
Yeah. And
part of that idea is because they were leftover or vestigial organs that were really not useful in modern days. So Doug, tell us a little bit about the three different types.
We have the three types.
Do they serve three different purposes, or are they
they're all little vanguards in the back of your mouth, and they're sort of like the first
wave of defense
for things that are coming into your body. And so the lymph nodes have, the functions were well known even at the time of 1911. The medical doctor wrote a thing that Darwin's claim was untenable.
Isn't that funny? 1911.
1911.
Again, this sounds like Ernst Haeckel, whose drawings were considered fraudulent even during his lifetime. Yet I was still being taught the embryonic recapitulation. The embryonic cycle recapitulates the entire evolutionary cycle. I was being taught that in the 50s, Doug. And the secret, I had the drawings in the book. I still remember being taught that.
That's
and one of them was in Catholic school. I was being taught this. Okay. And again, in the 50s, I had my tonsils taken out.
Right.
Based on the doctrine of this. It's like these evolutionists are so good at propaganda, Doug. And of course, they have this, they're the dominant paradigm in our modern culture, unfortunately. But how do they be so wrong and yet still maintain so much influence 50, 75 years after they've been proven wrong?
And so here's the deal, is that if you get trained in ear, nose, and throat surgery, you're sort of like the hammer looking for a nail. Because what you're doing is that this is your purpose, and of course, if you've got tonsils, and you're already predisposed that they're evolutionary leftover from the apes, well then what you say, well, basically they're going to give you problems anyway, so they're going to come out.
Do they have any, I've never heard this, what purpose or function do they think they might have served back in the day when let's say they were from the apes or the hominids or whatever, that we have lost that use for them? Do they ever explain that? I don't remember.
The use was never lost.
We know that from us, but I'm saying, what did they think happened? I've never read anything about what they thought it might have served as a function that it didn't serve today, the evolutionists.
Well, the function that they saw it doing was they thought it was in early child development, but once the child is a certain age, well, then they were useless. And back in the evolutionary thing, the tonsils apparently were larger in certain apes and things of that sort.
Okay.
So they really didn't have any evidence for what they were trying to do. In 1998, which is just 20-some years ago.
20 years ago. Yeah.
There was a guy named Radcliffe, and he wrote that physicians once thought tonsils were simply useless, evolutionary leftovers, and took them out thinking that they could do no harm. Today, there's considerable evidence that there are more troubles with the respiratory tract after tonsil removal than before. And doctors generally agree that simple enlargement of tonsils is hardly an indication for surgery.
And like Doug, it seems to me at one point in time, 80%, 90%, how many people, percentage, were getting the tonsils removed routinely? I was in one of those groups.
Right.
Somehow you escaped, because you're 1 year older than I am, and you escaped that. That was the problem.
It's quite possible my parents couldn't afford it, so.
You lucked out because now, what is it, less than 19% or 19.8, what is it now? It's less than 20% that now get the tonsils.
Of course, I think our parents were heavily into chiropractic and alternative medicine.
They were kind of more advanced than you might think back in those days.
Right, yeah.
But I guess, Doug, the thing is, they thought, well, if they were enlarged, they would get rid of them, and because it would be. And let's face it, there are reasons to get tonsils out if they become really inflamed or infected. It's like an appendix. You can take them out and you won't die.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And if they become so infected that leaving them in will cause you more harm than to take them out, but if that's less than 20%, they think the idea that just because they get enlarged, let's routinely take them out, that's gone by the wayside.
And one of the things that was happening was that the removal of the tonsils was often unrelated to the cause of an infection.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So they yanked them out anyway, whether or not there was really a reason to take them out. And
I think, Doug, I had my tonsils out, and I don't remember, I can't prove it now, I mean, I was a little kid, but I don't think I had any illness at all. Right. And my brother Steve and Bob, we all had our tonsils out at the same time, just because we were that age. I think I was
Yeah,
maybe
right.
5, and then one was 4, and the other was 3 or something like that. We all got our tonsils out. We were all in the hospital, got them out, and that was like in the middle 50s.
I know, and it says many tonsillectomies were performed for no other reason than the belief that they must come out sooner or later.
Yeah.
And so we might as well do it while the patient is young, so that when the body can better endure surgery.
And that's true. Your body does endure surgery a lot better when you're younger. You're much more resilient. But the idea of taking things out just because they're supposed useless organs, we keep finding that out, Doug. We've talked about, obviously, everything from junk DNA, but vestigial organs, from a macrobiological sense to a microbiological sense. There's, and down to the DNA and all that stuff. Everything seems to have a purpose. This should get people to think about, Doug. There is an incredible designer out there.
There is.
That has made things. It says in the Bible, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. And the Lord knew us when He knows us while we were in our mother's womb. And I'm going, wow, this is. And we mess with stuff like this. The arrogance, the hubris, if you will, of humanity is incredible when you think about it. You come up with some doctrine, and before it's even been street tested, I mean, they're really not in empirical science. They're yanking tonsils out. They're yanking appendixes out. They're yanking, they're saying this is. I'm surprised they didn't cut the tailbone off back years ago. Well, that's a vestigial bone. We don't need it.
Right. And that's the interesting thing is that we need to question, the surgeries that go on today. Not only tonsils, but and adenoids and appendices. But and many of the other things that you have a problem in your body, you cut it out. That's
it doesn't always work. You got a list here. There's a list of things here about some of the things, the residual bad effects that can happen if you take these out.
Yeah.
Why don't you go through some of those?
I did want to mention that in the 1930s. Over half the children had their tonsils removed, and then in the 50s, in the 1969 is when they started to realize this is
something started to change. Yep.
Only 19 and a half out of 1,000 did. In 1971, it was 14.8 for 1,000, and so. And now most medical authorities actively discourage tonsillectomies. And here are the risks of removal of tonsils. You have hemorrhage, you have vomiting, fever, infection, complications from anesthesia, rheumatic fever, kidney damage, strep throat, polio. Polio is a complication. Possible complication. Now, with the vaccine, it's a little bit less.
Yeah, but you wonder back in the day, back in the iron lung days, back in the 20s and 30s when they were yanking tonsils out, a lot of polio couldn't have been caused by premature tonsillectomies. I mean, it's too late to do anything about it now, 100 years after the fact, but still, all the people, okay. Yeah. Are there other things?
Asthma, chronic bronchitis, emphysema, upper respiratory tract diseases, allergies, conjunctivitis, yeah.
Easy for you to say.
And influenza, pneumonia, cancer. There's cancers, Hodgkin's disease.
Really? Wow.
And heart disease. They're all related to. There's an extensive study that was done recently. I think it was in 2018, where they took data from many, I think there was like 1 million samples of some cases, and they sorted through all of it and found all this stuff going on that they believe wouldn't have happened if people didn't have their tonsils removed.
Okay.
And so these things are really a
question. A plethora of illnesses that. It's the law of unintended consequences, but to me, Doug, every time we do things, as I said, the hubris of humanity, Well, that rolls perfectly off the tongue, doesn't it? Anyway, the hubris of humanity. In our arrogance, we think that God has made a mistake, or that God has blown it, or he's, or there is no God, basically. And when we go against what seems to be the clear dictates of Scripture, which tells you we're number one, we're fearfully and wonderfully made, that creation declares His handiwork. There's not mistakes in that sense, and so when you violate things that are the order of the day, or that He has set in place, even though there are fail-safes and backup systems, and you can get away with certain things to an extent, still there's a lot of consequences to get paid. A lot of people suffered, probably needlessly, based on your list of things that went wrong over that long period of time. It's amazing to me that every time we do that, we have issues. I mean, how many times, like I said, with the junk DNA, which is really the microbiological level, this is more macrobiological, we start saying, oh, this DNA is useless because it's not protein coding or whatever it is, Now we're finding, oh my gosh, it's a backup system for this, it helps do code for this, or helps do, wow. The arrogance we have, Doug, arrogance based on ignorance. There's another meme for you. Arrogance based on ignorance is amazing to me. When the one who's formulated this, Doug, he has all the knowledge. We're trying to catch up, but the idea to promote things that are so hurtful, or could be so hurtful, just I don't know, Doug. And we keep doing it. We just keep doing it. Humanity just keeps doing it to ourselves.
And we keep all this, there's certain hidden agendas that are going on as well.
Yeah, that's the insidious part.
Because if you are trained this way, and then you find out that it isn't really being effective in the prevention of disease, do you continue to do it? Because you've invested all your money and time into learning how to do all these procedures. I think this is also something that goes on with cancer, where you have.
Doctors very rarely say cure you. They always say, "We'll treat you."
Treat you, yeah.
Well, it's a lot of times it's not a treat. Some of you wonder the conspiratorialists out there. There's been a big medical conspiracy just to basically keep cancer alive, so we can make billions of dollars off the treatment of these diseases. But okay, let's go back to a little bit of the pragmatic part of it. The tonsil, we tell you that some of the bad things that we take them out prematurely. What are some of the functions that the tonsil is good for? What is it? What do we use the tonsil for? Because we find out that, like we talked about the DNA, all the quote junk DNA has functions. I assume the tonsil has functions as well, and good ones.
And the good ones are that they're lymph glands that are critical to the development of immunity and defense mechanism in your body, especially in younger people. And so to take them out at the young age of 5, 6, 7. You are actually short-circuiting that immune system growth.
Wow. I wonder about, because you hear so many people today, our age, Doug, suffering from autoimmune deficiencies.
Right,
diseases, everything from, lupus and just RA, rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune type of it. There's all these things that are happening. You wonder some of the food allergies. Now, some of that's later on. I'm not going to say that's a direct cause and effect link, but excuse me. But it does make me wonder, Doug, especially the tonsils that were routinely taken out in our generation, Doug. And I'm seeing so many people my age that are having all these autoimmune diseases, all these things. The immune system is not, and it may be something else. But because that one first backup system is gone, the other one's been stressed. The other backup systems or the other immune things that your body has been stressed or overtaxed or worked over the years and causing things to break down. Just a thought. I mean, it's a terrible thought, but I did not realize how important they were because, like I said, they're the first defense to getting foreign stuff into your system.
Right. This study that was done determined that 1 in 5 people who have had their tonsils out suffers from these serious diseases or health problems that they might have not encountered otherwise, and it's because it interferes with the immunity.
Yeah, okay, so there was a study on this. So it's okay. So it's critical for young people. It's kind of like now today. I remember growing up, we had formula when instead of having, now they say mothers should nurse their children as long as they can, because it builds up immunities in their body. There's so many things that we seem to do naturally before we got too smart for ourselves, and decided that the medical science, apart from God, would be a better way. So anything else that you can think of, Doug, that maybe the tonsils are good for?
Well, those are the really
the main things.
Main things, yeah. But taking them out isn't is apparently not a very good idea. And
I think they're called super lymph nodes. What does that mean?
Well, what it means is that we have lymph nodes all throughout our body.
And that's what tonsils is, like a super lymph node?
Super lymph node.
Ah, I didn't know that.
And so it filters out disease organisms. And so here they are guarding your throat. And, if they get inflamed or, that was the reason why people got...
Oh, yeah, as soon as they got red or inflamed, they'd yank them out.
Yeah.
Immediately. Now they're... Because I remember my younger brothers and sisters, they were saying, no, we're not thinking about... Some of them really had some... They got tonsillitis, what they call tonsillitis. Yeah, but it would go away. I think today, Doug, too, we do have one advantage. I'm not going to slam them totally, although... I think some of the antibiotics we have have been better at treating some of the stuff, and so the tonsils don't become. Remember the old Bill Cosby record years ago? On tonsils, we're going to get ice cream.
Ice cream.
We're going to get ice cream.
Talking about ice cream.
And he says, what's his tonsil like? Well, they're kind of warriors for you, but then they become traitors and they go against you. So
that's right.
And that does happen, there's no doubt about that, Doug. It's like there are so many things we have defense mechanisms. I think about when you have a virus or a bacteria in your body and your temperature goes up to burn the bacteria, the virus out. But if it's too much, it'll kill you.
Yeah.
Okay? I mean, you get a temperature above 104 as an adult, 105, you're going to die. 106, 107, kids can go to. But so there are things that in this broken world, you can get it can. So I understand taking tonsils out in those rare circumstances today, but Ben, I go, man, I got ripped off my tonsils. No wonder I got all these sinus problems and allergies and and all that kind of stuff.
I'm going to read this. This was outlined in a book written in 1957. To allay children's fear of hospitals. Why do I have so many colds? He asked his mommy. Well, maybe it's your tonsils that are giving you so many colds. What are tonsils? Steve asked. Tonsils are two little things in the back of our throats, Mommy said. When children are little, the tonsils help them to keep them well, but when they grow older, like you, Steve, tonsils very often cause colds and sore throats. Then they're not needed anymore, so the doctor takes them out. Well, said the doctor, just as I thought, those tonsils, we'd better take them out. And so you had a little children's book that talked about it, and they would, and the location of the tonsils and adenoids allow them to act as a trap and the first line of defense against inhaled or ingested bacteria and viruses. The tonsils and adenoids are made up of lymphatic tissue that manufactures antibodies against invading diseases. Therefore, unless there's an important and specific reason to have the operation, it's better to leave the tonsils and adenoids in place. And so, that is now the accepted criteria. And it's, I would say that if you can cure your condition by
natural means, or even with antibiotics or something to get down there, you're better off. And as I said, we have better better medical procedure things as far as that. I mean, of course, even the antibiotics. I mean, you keep you have to keep getting stronger and stronger antibiotics because
they're causing their own issues.
They're causing their own issues. But by and large, they still are fairly effective for things like that until you get the tonsils. Because doctors today and they've done this for quite a while. I've had doctors with humility say, we don't really cure you. We hopefully make it possible for your body to cure itself.
That's right. Yeah.
And again, I get back, we were fearfully and wonderfully made, Doug. Fearfully and wonderfully made. There was no accidents. There was no junk. There was no mistakes. There's no vestiges left over from an earlier time. We do have a broken world, though, Doug. I will say that. We do have to acknowledge the fact the reason why disease and things like that happen at all is because we do have a broken world, Doug. And that's where I think the creation message is so strong, Doug, because we can acknowledge the genius of our Creator, but understand why things don't always go perfect. Like these people out, the evolutionists, the secularists. Well, this doesn't work perfectly, therefore you must have a God who screwed it up.
Yeah, I know.
What they really mean is they don't believe there's a God, period.
Right.
But I said, no, the world was broken, and there is redemption. And just as when the first man and first woman transgressed, they spiritually died right away.
Right.
It took them many years later to physically die. And it's like manner when we get raised, when we come unto Christ, now you are raised first spiritually.
Right.
And ultimately we will be raised physically to immortality. That's the promise. That's the genius of it.
So a little bit more about this book. The book's name is Useless Organs, The Rise and Fall of the Central Claim of Evolution by Dr. Jerry Bergman. And he's a professor, writer, and public speaker with 9 earned degrees, 2 PhDs.
900 degrees, I know.
9 earned degrees.
Oh, 9 earned. I like the other one, 900 degrees. He is amazing. Yes, he's got 9 postgraduate degrees.
And if you go into his house and visit his little library of 40,000 volumes,
Bigger than most houses.
So it's quite an experience to just go through. He's got these moving shelves that go back and forth that give him.
What fascinates me, Doug, now is you have all these books. He's got them organized. At least it seems to me he does. He knows where to get stuff because he's written. I mean, Doug, how many books has he written now?
I think there's about 30 or 40, something like that.
50, but anyway.
But he's getting to the point where it's I can't keep up with them. He keeps sending
I can read them.
sending them for me to review, and so I hope you enjoyed our show tonight.
Yes.
We'll see you next time on Revolution Against Evolution.